made a lot of money and was not happy. And so
Mm.
now I'm chasing actual fulfillment and success and improving other people's lives rather than just the money. The money comes when you're doing something that's changed the world, when you're influencing others positively, the money will come. So chase happiness rather than just money.
Today's guest is someone who's gained phenomenal success at age 27, but lost everything after being diagnosed with a malignant brain tumor and was given just 60 to 90 days more to live. But he fought against all odds to recover and return to the marketplace, but on a different trajectory of life. In this episode, we have with us M. Curtis McCoy. Curtis is an American entrepreneur, business development expert, an influencer, a keynote speaker, and author of the book How to Be Successful Think Like a Leader. Everyone, please help me welcome M. Curtis McCoy. Welcome to the show, Curtis.
And thank you so much, Vidhaan. That's a great intro.
Thanks for being here. So, Curtis, I think this would be a great point to start off with. I read about you that you've gone through this event, this brain cancer that you've had, where doctors, the medical sciences did not, think that you would be able to survive beyond 90-day period. However, you seem to, defy the odds. You've seemed to defy the medical sciences, and I am really curious to know how was the journey. What did you did do differently, and how did you get over this?
Sounds good. So I was diagnosed at a clinic here up in Denver, Colorado, and had some of the top oncologists in the United States. You know, they'd given my parents, told my parents I had 60 to 90 days to live. And I still remember when I was in the hospital room there, I had lost the ability to speak, was having 7 to 10 seizures weekly, grand mal seizures. Had lost the ability to live alone. I couldn't drive. I couldn't even sleep alone. I had to move into my parents' one bedroom cabin, with them. So they slept in the bedroom. I slept on a floor on an air mattress for quite a while as I was going through this brain cancer thing. But the big thing for me that was really neat, I had my mom was uh, just really, rather than accepting, okay, you're going to die in 60 to 90 days, zero chance, let's just make you comfortable until you pass away. It was my mom saying, well, why don't we start? I owned a number of different companies at the time when I had the cancer and was, lost everything. And so it was really cool to have someone in my life that was still inspiring me, going, maybe you die in 60 to 90 days, but why don't we plan for, like, you're
It
going to
was
be
your
here for
mom.
50 years? Yeah, so my mom really gave it a lot of, I mean, we still run the company, bestcellular.com. We still run that telecom company now, and it's really been a blessing. But
That's amazing,
a
man.
lot of folks, when they get cancer or get some kind of a terminal diagnosis like that, they give up and accept that the doctors are right. And the doctor says, I'm going to die in 60, 90 days, so I'm just going to give up on life right now. And they end up dying because they believe that terrible diagnosis. So that's my first kind of insight, or I guess my first word of wisdom, or suggestion is, if you're given, you've got some kind of a terrible diagnosis, you're going to die in less than 90 days. That does not have to be the truth. I mean, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but don't take a terrible diagnosis or bad news and accept that as your reality.
That's so on point. That's right. I want to know more about this same. How I've read this book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, and in that book, have you read that book for the
I have.
you have? So
Yeah.
that book has plenty of examples of people who have defied medical sciences, who have done the unthinkable and have made it possible just based on this belief of themselves. Right. So was it something along that lines? Did you believe in what the doctor said, and how were you able to recover from it?
So I'm Christian. I believe that God, Jesus died for my sins, and I've got, the man looking out for me. And so,
Right.
whether you believe in God or a higher power or not, I understand that the top medical, the top oncologists in the country said I was going to die and there's zero chance. Basically, give up, and they told my parents to take me to Disneyland or something. Um,
Mm-hmm.
kind of make a good memory before I pass away. But
Mhm.
it was it was a good thing to not take that advice and start planning for the worst. Going, hey, let's plan for the best, and if the worst happens, then it happens. But at least we're on the right track doing something good. So.
So, how long was this incident for you? How many years has it been since then?
That's been over 10 years ago. So I should have been,
Over 10 years. Mhm.
the diagnosis was 60 to 90 days, and it's 10 years later. I'm speaking again, running podcasts, doing all these,
Mhm.
running multiple businesses again. And
Uh-huh. So, what was the first conversation that came into that you had with your own self right after you got to know that you've got only a limited time left? What was the conversation? What was the voice inside your head saying to you?
so at the time, I was running a cosmetic medical laser franchise. I had doctors and stuff working for me. I also had a pharmaceutical company. We were manufacturing white label injectable pharmaceuticals. I was also running a Christian clothing company and also running a nutritional supplement manufacturing and distribution company. So we had, I was running all these different businesses. Everything was going great. And, but I had started having 7 to 10 seizures a week. And that'd been going on for a couple of years where I was just, I'd pass out. We sponsored an event at the Denver Coliseum, thousands of
Okay.
people there, big MMA fight. And I passed
Okay.
out and had this big seizure, banging my face on the ground there, and so I knew something was really wrong because a normal person doesn't just pass out and have a seizure,
Right.
multiple times a week. Um,
Mhm.
but I was so busy with running all these different companies, I didn't feel like I had time to focus on, I need to take some time off, go see what happens, get checked out at the doctor. It was just you just keep pushing through is kind of my thought, and so as that was all going on, it just got worse and worse. But I knew something was wrong. It was
Mhm.
just a matter of I had to be completely shut down and have a seizure where I could not even speak or communicate before I really took that seriously.
Right, right, right.
You'll find a
So,
lot of very driven
mhm.
entrepreneurs do that. Maybe overwork themselves ridiculously,
Right, right,
just
right.
trying to push through for the goal instead of taking care of themselves, and that's not a great
Getting
way to
you.
live.
Getting you. So, was it the lifestyle that you think led you to that trajectory? Was it the lifestyle where you not taking care of your health, the amount of sleep that you're getting, and things like it?
So as far as taking care of my health, I was bodybuilding, and yeah, I mean every single day bringing the chicken and broccoli and the the same 6 meals daily, and
Right.
um, so as that was all happening, when I was diagnosed, I was 252 pounds, all swole up bodybuilding, and um, but like you ask about the sleep, I was working my guts out, averaging about 4 to 4.5 hours per night of sleep.
Mm.
That had been going on for years, and so that probably did not help with the
Sleep
with
part.
my body fighting off the cancer. But yeah, so
Right. All right, all right, all right. So, you changed your trajectory, and the first thing that came to your mind after you went through this, you realized that you've got only a few time left. You started to get into podcasting. You started, I'm sorry, it's not podcasting. You started to connect with more people. You started to connect with people worldwide. You started to put out your message into the world, and this was the inspiration that you took from the incident that you were going through. Was this the case?
uh, kind of. So I didn't start podcasting until just a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So we had been, as I was having these seizures, I was sleeping on my parents' floor, and but we started a telecom company. So originally it was just we rented out a little 1 bedroom or a little 2 bedroom house in Hotchkiss, knocked the front wall out, made that a retail store, and I was fixing the old iPhones. And it was back when you could fix an iPhone 4 or 4S with a suction cup and a couple of screws,
Yeah, yeah,
to replace the screen. And so we were
yeah.
doing screen replacements and battery replacements and computer repairs and stuff like that. And that kept growing, and we just kept pushing that business until it grew, and we were able to launch a nationwide telecommunications company. And so that
That's
was
great.
but for years, that's another thing I'd like to. I know your audience doesn't care as much about what I'm, my personal story here. The reason they're probably listening is to figure out how they can become successful. What if they're dealing with problems? So the big thing we did there was just keep pushing towards the goal. Again, like we talked about, where pushing towards, okay, what if I live another 100 years? Live your life like that, where you're trying to keep working towards whatever the goal is, and then if you die tomorrow, you die tomorrow, but at least you're on a good pathway.
Mhm. Right, makes complete sense. So, talking about speaking of success, tell me, are you successful?
So, as far as financially speaking, there's a lot of people have different definitions of success.
100%.
I have done. I've made more money in a week than friends made in a year, and so but I would not. I definitely would not. Um, I wouldn't classify that as success, because at the time when I was making this crazy income, I was not happy. I lived in the back of one of my retail stores. My parents lived in the back of another one. We had another store that we were just working our guts out and did not enjoy life. I mean, the point of you
Right.
take a month's income and go pay cash for any car, any dream car you can imagine, or so looking from the outside, it looked like I was doing well, but I was not happy. And so now I'm
Mhm.
focusing more on trying to not only make money, but also inspire others, uplift, do something that's changing the world in a positive manner. So as I'm getting older, I'm realizing money isn't just about, I mean, success isn't just about money. It's about being happy and improving the world, and also working towards that final goal of when I do pass away, I want to make sure that I'm going to the right place.
100%. Absolutely. Definitely agree to that. And that's what I wanted to understand from your point of view, that people do think that the other person has become all successful just because the monetary terms, the financial condition of that person seems to be successful, right? It's the conventional way of seeing success. But
Yeah.
the people who actually achieve that, the people who actually get a lot of money, are the ones who understand really quick that, okay, that's nothing, that's actually not what I was seeking, it's not the satisfaction that I'm getting. And so now, how would you define success? Like, I am sure this that success is something, it's very arbitrary, it's very ambiguous, it keeps changing, the definitions of our own selves keep changing, right? And every person have sort of different definitions of success. So what's your definition of success
So
now?
my definition is doing something that not only fulfills you. I mean, you've got to make money. Money runs the world. You have
100%.
to have
Yeah.
money for food and clothes, and
Right,
um,
right, right.
they say money doesn't make you happy, but it'll make you
Mhm.
happier. If you're
Right. Right. In
if
fact,
you're
I
having a hard
say,
time.
I put it like this, that, okay, money might not bring happiness, but the absence of it does bring unhappiness.
That's a great quote. I'll have to use that.
Yeah. So
Um,
let's just continue with you, what you're saying. Hmm.
so what was the question again? Tell me your
I'm sorry.
tell what was your question again on that?
My question was, how would you define success?
Okay, so my
What's the
definition of
definition of success
success.
for you? Hmm.
Yeah. So my definition of success would be in the past, it was about, I had the goal when I was in college. I wanted to make $100,000 a month, as just kind of that's where I would have felt successful at the time. And building businesses that have done much better than that. Um, like I said, when I got there, I was not happy. I just didn't feel fulfilled. And so as I've grown, I'm understanding that success is not just about the money. It's about doing something that's really improving the world. And so when I was fighting through the brain cancer and all that, I launched a group on Facebook called How to Be, or it's called Success, Motivation, and Inspiration. And I checked this morning, we've got 309,000 active members, and there's a whole lot more that don't post or contribute or anything. But that's I would say now the goal is to be inspiring and uplifting and changing people's lives for the better. If you're running a business, the business needs to be providing some type of benefit to the world besides just the product or service that you sell.
Right. 100%. 100%.
That
So
that's my definition.
that's your definition of success, and that definitely aligns with That definitely aligns with the goals, with the perceived success of a lot of people. And happy to know your definition of success. And you're right, the business, if anyone's an entrepreneur who's doing a business, like I am doing a business myself. And so, if the business, so like a lot of people think that money is a zero sum game, right? It's not, right? And when you do businesses that are that are replicated through existing business models, that's when you're eating up businesses, that's when you're eating up finances of other people. But when you're doing a business that's born out of innovation, that's created out of problem solving, some problems that you've faced your own self, that's the thing that puts out something valuable into the world. And that,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's one of the things like with bestcellular.com or the telecom company, when we
Hmm.
launched that, we understood in the United States there's 240 different phone companies.
Hmm.
And you can go anywhere. You can almost always, out of 240 choices, you can almost always find a cheaper service, or you can almost find a, there's free government assistance services, whatever.
Hmm.
But our goal was to provide the best quality coverage as well as customer service, and
Hmm.
providing a business that's actually, when people would walk into our retail stores, we're giving them a hug, saying a prayer. The people that are willing or that are open to it. We'd have folks come in that are, sometimes suicidal or depressed or they've got whatever going on.
Okay.
And so
Hmm.
rather than being just a cell phone store, we trained our employees that you need to be connect and actually make friendships and care about your customers. So I would
Empathize with
hire,
them.
yeah. So I would hire a employee who loved people over an employee who is great with cell phones any day, because that you can teach the person who loves people how to do the business side of it, but you
Great
can't
point.
teach someone who who doesn't like people. You can't teach them to love people. You can't change their heart as easy. So
Absolutely, you that couldn't be forced. Like anyone, you can, you just hire the character and you can build the skills, the technical skills at the least. But you cannot force people to empathize, to love others, and to connect well with other people. So
yeah.
that's a very well point made, and I'll definitely keep that in mind to hire people who are good with people. So tell me, Curtis, since you've been building up a lot of businesses, you've been an entrepreneur since a young age of your life. Tell me what's been your biggest failure, biggest apparent failure that looked like a failure at the moment, but that turned out to be a massive learning curve for you. And so I would put it this way: what has been your favorite failure?
So that is probably the best question I've ever been asked on a podcast. I
Wow,
love
thanks.
this. It's going to be a super easy one to answer because I have failed more than anybody I know. Um,
Hmm.
like I said, I've owned a couple dozen different businesses in telecom, pharmaceuticals. I mean, social media, web design. I mean, any business venture that you could think of, if it was a profitable opportunity, I weigh the options and figure out, hey, I don't know, I did not know anything about pharmaceuticals when I launched the pharmaceutical company. I started watching YouTube videos and reading forums and reading
Hmm.
books on on biology and different things, and hired folks that are a whole lot smarter than I was. And I have failed at a whole lot of businesses. Like I said, when I had the brain cancer, I lost all of the businesses. I mean, it went from being making crazy money to lost everything. Was sleeping on the floor in a one bedroom apartment at my parents' house. Um, but my advice on that is just keep trying, keep taking chances, take calculated risks. Not you know, here's a good example of an opportunity that was not for me that could have made a lot of money. So I had a guy walk into one of my retail stores. He'd been a customer for a long time, and he needed an $80,000 loan, which is a lot of money. That's more than most Americans make in a year. But
Right.
he was asking for this $80,000 loan and guaranteed 150% return. So, I mean,
Okay.
if you could make 10% on an investment, that's awesome. This guy's guaranteeing 150%.
150. That's a lot. And that's
But it
fishy
was
as well.
Well, I mean, he's an honest, ethical guy. It would be a great opportunity for the right person. But the business that he was launching was he was opening up fish hatcheries, to these large commercial fish hatcheries. And I didn't know anything about fish or about fish hatcheries or how to what kind of a business, what that would take to keep that business running successful. And I understood also that if I had to take the time to study and become an expert on fish hatcheries so that I was comfortable with that investment, that would take too much time away from the books that I'm publishing and all of the other businesses. And
Okay.
so even though it was a guaranteed 150% return, I did not take that opportunity because that was not the right investment for me to make.
Right. Right.
So I'd say
100%.
knowing your strengths, and also if you've got, if you're wanting to invest in something you don't know about, or if you're wanting to start a business you don't know about,
Exactly.
go out and start learning and studying. And we've got the sum of all human knowledge in our pocket in these
Exactly.
smartphones now. So
They've got the superpower with us now.
yeah,
Right, right, 100%. And that's a well point made there that one should not invest in places that they are not knowledgeable about. And if only they are lured to invest into something, they first need to go back, learn the fundamentals, learn the basics, and understand that, educate themselves, and then only take a calculated decision towards investment. Because opportunities might come your way, a lot of them when you have a lot of money, of course, but you got to be wise about it, how to not lose the money that you have. Is that right?
exactly. And you mentioned earlier that you read and study a lot. So if you're
100%.
reading these books, more opportunities come. I have people all the time ask me they want to be a motivational speaker. I've spoke at Caesar's Palace and different. I spoke a week and a half ago or so at a virtual conference in Delhi, India. So
Oh,
there's a ton of people watching.
Toastmasters. Was it
So
Toastmasters? Yes.
yeah, yeah. So people ask.
I'm a member of Toastmaster itself. I am a
That's awesome.
Toastmaster. That's awesome.
Lost the internet connection there for a minute. It looks like.
Okay. I'm sorry about
Um,
that. Am I connected now?
yeah, you were good to go. It just muted out for a sec, but
Okay.
um, but so that I've get people, I've got out of hundreds of thousands of followers, people ask me all the time, how do you become a motivational speaker? I want to become a motivational speaker. I want to become an influencer. So my first question is, what knowledge or what benefit can you provide to your audience without any charge? What are you an expert in? And if they're an expert in, they can get people hyped up or motivated.
Hmm.
There's really not anything to share with them if you have not read and studied and have some type of value to share.
Substance, right?
Yeah, so the fact that you're
Exactly.
reading these books, if you want to start a pharmaceutical company, if you want to start a whatever your business is, you've got the ability to keep studying and become an expert in that field before you ever launch.
Right. Probably that's the reason I study and educate myself a lot before actually venturing out into something. Even if it's something small, I go back and I try to understand the basics first before I actually dive into the game. So yeah, that's a great point you've made there. I'll have an advantage over other people. All the people who love to read, love to study and educate themselves will have an advantage over other people because they have the equity, they have the sweat equity, they have the ability to, go ahead and study. And that's
Yeah.
a well point there. 100%.
Well, and also, even if you don't enjoy reading, you don't enjoy podcasts or listening to audiobooks or whatever, if the person who, I mean, I don't enjoy reading. I read over 6 books every single month. I have for years and years and years.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
I don't love to read. So people go, well, how do you make yourself love to read? I really don't. I love the result, the ability, all the opportunities it brings. But
Mm.
start reading, and even if you're not a big fan of it, even if you're not doing that for fun, start reading. That will provide opportunities that you will not. I mean, it's just unbelievable the opportunities you gain by reading and studying, whether it's podcasts or audiobooks or
You're right.
some type of be intentionally improving yourself.
You're right. Like books, reading books, and even listening to podcasts and listening to people who have, achieved something, who've been through failures, who are steps ahead in the journey that you're chasing, right? In fact, books have the power to bring about a paradigm shift. With each book that we read, we start to see the world differently. A new lens comes in front of the eyes, and we start to see the world through that lens. And
Yeah,
so a lot of lenses just come over our eyes and are just our horizon, our vision, our perspective elevates completely. And in fact, if you have some weakness, like in my business, when the coronavirus pandemic hit, Curtis, I was struggling to, everyone wanted to negotiate in my business. And I didn't know, how to negotiate well. And I realized that a lot of people didn't know because people were hesitating in having the conversations, the difficult conversations. And that's when I realized, okay, Vidhan, you need to pick a book on negotiation and you want to master this, so that because everyone is hesitating having these hard conversations, you need to become the master at this playground. Like, you should be owning the negotiation, you should be confident that okay, you want to negotiate, just come down and play with me, because I have been trying to master the game since a long time. And that's the power of books. You can turn your weaknesses into your strengths.
I
And
love that.
yeah. Other than that, in fact, every book, I love reading books because every time I read something new, I go like, wow, and damn, why did I not know of this before? And everyone needs to know this. And that's why I love books.
That's awesome.
Does this happen to you? Why didn't
Yeah,
I know
there's
of this? Yeah.
yeah, it is amazing how often I'll be, I'm doing some kind of a, I've got this project that I'm working on, and I feel like I am kind of the expert on that. And then you
Mm,
read a book with a different, different perspective or a different outlook on that, and
exactly.
can change a lot of things. So one of them, this wasn't a book, but I met with a, she's a, I guess she's like a lifestyle coach or a, um, trying to think of the word. Basically, she mentors people on how to, chase their dreams, whatever kind of thing. And so, um, I'm trying to think here. So yeah, basically, this lady that I met with, I was running 3 retail stores. I was working an average, 60 to 80 hours per week, every single
Mm-hmm.
week, 6.5 days a week,
Mm-hmm.
and hating life. I lived in the back of one of the stores. My parents lived in the back of the other store, and just did not enjoy life, although we were making very good income. And so we had this conversation where she was asking, "What is the reason you're pushing so hard? Why are you still, even though your health isn't good, why are you still running these, pushing to open more stores and all this stuff?" And so as we started having this conversation with this other expert who is, her life or her lessons are about being happy and content and fulfilled. And so as we started going through this has been a couple of years back, but um, we made the decision, hey, these retail stores are not enjoyable. They're not, it's not fun to be doing this. It's taken up my whole life. And as I'm running these 3 little retail stores, I don't have the ability to keep pursuing other dreams and other opportunities that can be a whole lot bigger. So we ended up closing all 3 stores and going all online. Now we're doing 250,000 customers a month on the internet. Um, yeah. So again, just being sure that you're, chasing that passion and chasing the dreams and chasing what really
Right.
makes you happy. Life is short. So
Curtis, tell me, what is the book or books you've given most as a gift and why? Like, what are the top three books that you would want to gift people?
So one of them is How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's one
Gold.
that I read as a young kid.
Yeah.
Rich Dad Poor Dad is another great book. Who Moved My Cheese is a good one for if you're giving
Hmm.
it to a 13, 14 young kid who's just trying to get started. Um,
Right.
and then also I've given out a whole bunch of copies of How to Be Successful, Think Like a Leader. That's my most
Your
recent
book.
book.
Yeah.
Um,
Awesome. Gotta
and
read that
I,
one, man. Honestly, full disclosure, I haven't read that completely, but I'm gonna pick that book and read it up. Definitely.
well, people wonder how do you always stay so positive, or how do you stay so motivated or inspired, or
Hmm.
all of us get depressed. All of us have bad days.
100%. Hmm.
And I feel like depression or sadness or feeling like you're not good enough, I feel like that's a great sign that you should be doing something more. If you're
Differently.
not happy
Something
with your
different.
life, do something
Yeah.
to change that.
Right, right,
And
right.
also, if you're
Exactly.
depressed or sad or having a bad day, that's a good motivation to improve. But it's okay to be down. It's okay to be depressed. If you're having a bad day, that's typically because something bad happened or because you need to make a change in life. So I, it's okay to feel bad, and it's okay to, if you got to lay down and pull the covers over your head and spend a day in bed just to
100%.
get back
100%.
on track, do it.
Completely on point, and I am with you on this, Curtis, that everyone goes through dips, everyone feels
I lost
depressed
your
once
audio
in a
again.
while. I'm on point with you, and I am on the same page with you on it, that everyone goes through dips Everyone feels depressed once in a while, especially the entrepreneurial journey is lonely. You do not have a lot of people, you don't see a lot of people going through the same things that you are going through. Like, it's not the conventional route to success where everyone will be able to guide you. It's not the same case. And you need to be able to pick your own self up whenever you fall. And that's what I believe. And that's very rightly put by you, that that's a call to change. That okay, something needs to be changed. There's something off about what I'm doing in life. It could be the sleeping patterns, it could be the food that we're eating, it could be the
Yeah.
conversation we are having with our own self and other people. And these are the things that need to be changed essentially. Whenever we feel bad, we're not feeling good. So that's
I
what I
love that
believe.
you mentioned the conversations you're having with yourself. Um,
Mm.
I've had, even folks that are very successful. One of the guests on my, or I mean, a couple of the guests on my shows. One of the guys said sold more than 2 million copies of one of his books. Guys
Mm.
made tens of millions of dollars just on
Wow, what
books,
was
not
that
counting
book?
this. I'll have to look that up. It was,
Okay.
and I won't mention the author specifically because I don't want to,
All right. For
don't
for
want to.
any reasons, 100%. Yeah.
But the one of the things on that, we get depressed. We feel like, man, why? If you compare yourself, if I compare myself, going, my biggest day of book sales, I sold 786 books on Kindle in one day. So if I look at that, I'm going, man, I am killing it. I'm doing great. But when I compare myself to this other guy who has sold, 2 million of one of his books,
You're certainly
even though
off
I've had,
about it.
yeah, yeah. So then now I'm feeling, going, man, I am not even close to being where I should be.
Exactly.
Instead of just,
Exactly.
so we all compare ourselves to, you see the social media profiles. I mean, if you watch me you look at the Instagram posts from a while back, it's my new BMW or my new Jaguar, or these different these things
Hmm.
where you're seeing
Right.
these huge success things that are
Right.
going, man, why can't I be like Curtis? But if you see in the
Right.
background the stuff that we don't share on social media, I have got more failures, like I said, more failures than most people I know. And
Right.
what people don't see, I had a guy walk in the store one day and he commented, I just bought the Jaguar. And so he's commenting, well, it must be nice. Like, I just somehow, bag of money fell out of the sky and now I've got these retail stores and all this stuff.
Hmm.
What he didn't see is for years I'm sleeping in the back of the store. I did not even have a shower in this little store. So
Hmm.
sleeping in the back of the store, with a hotel refrigerator. I'm sleeping on a cot and had to go to the gym every morning to shower. So you don't see, we all of us, including myself, share the most, the stuff we share on social media is what's going to make us look the best to the audience. But
Right. Right.
we're all going through the same kind of we've all got train wrecks in our life where you're just going, man, if everybody saw what's actually going on, they would not want to be me, kind of a thing. So
Hmm.
don't compare
Right.
yourself in a negative manner to
Right.
those that look real successful online, because none of us have everything going on perfect. So
100%. Like, everyone is going through failures. It's inevitable. 99% times you're going through failures. It's just 1% times that you're succeeding at something, and that's what you're putting out. That's what most people are putting out. And the best part here that you mentioned was, it's extremely common to be comparing yourself, the unhealthy comparison. Even if you're doing good, then you'll start comparing yourself again to the even higher standards of goodness.
yeah,
And this is a never ending cycle. You would never be satisfied unless you have your own definition of success at different points
yeah,
in time. Right. 100%.
yes,
And
sir.
uh, everyone goes through dips, and the essential starting dips that we go through, nobody claps when we go through them, but and nobody
Yeah,
supports us, nobody picks us up when we go through initial dips in our journey. But when we start picking our own selves up and start getting back up from the falls that we experience in life, that's when even other people start to see and start to clap for us, that all right, this man's getting up, even he's failing, he's falling, he's getting up, he's showing up again. And then other people clap for you in the next falls as well. They start picking you up, and the subsequent falls become easier for you. So it's all about the initial few falls to pick yourself up really nicely. You'll get the confidence yourself. Other people will get confident about you as well. That's make it a whole lot easier.
yeah. Well, and here's an example of that. So I was At the time, I was speaking in, I remember if it was San Francisco or Las Vegas or somewhere. So I'm in the airport, suit and tie, dragging the briefcase that's all logoed up with it's got my company name logoed up and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so walking through the airport, I look real successful. And I had checked in and I'm heading to my flight. And this guy comes running down the airport, Mr. McCoy, Mr. McCoy. And so I'm thinking it's airport security. I'm going, okay, am I in trouble? Did I do something wrong? What's going on here? And he comes up and was asking for my autograph. So he's got a copy of my book. He's
Wow.
wanting me to sign something. I'm going, I didn't know that anybody followed me. At the time, this is a couple of years back, but I had no clue that anybody even knew who I was. So I'm promoting these books and different things. And so he's asking for my autograph and says he's read at the time it was 3 of my books. He's read all 3 of the books and, read every blog post. And he's just, kind of like what you'd call a super fan. So he's
Wow.
highlighting every, just, I love how you did this. I love how you did it. All these different kind of career highlight things and asking for the autograph. What this guy didn't see, I mean, that made me feel great. What he didn't see is I was still sleeping in the back of one of my stores. Um, I was making good money, but still, I did not have the life that you would. If you knew my whole life at the time, you would not have. He wouldn't have been asking for my autograph. He would probably would have been, putting his arm around me, and hey, stuff will get better. But yeah, so that's that same thing of we all kind of see the best parts of people online and don't realize what else is going on in the background.
100%. Love that, man. So now, Curtis, tell me if you could have a gigantic billboard that had a message that everyone in the world could see, what would that message be?
Oh my gosh, that is another great question, and I really appreciate this. You're making me think. So, if I could share a message with anyone in the world, it would be take chances, take calculated risks, and don't get depressed with failure. I mean, you will fail if you're doing anything big. Chances are you're going to fail, and you're going to fail a whole lot of times if you're going to do anything that changes the world. So, um, again, I have lost. I've failed at more companies than most people have ever even thought about starting.
Right.
Um, and people know me because of the books and the podcast, because of being on TV, Amazon TV, and different things like this. But I have failed more than anybody I know, and so I would say on that billboard, failure is inevitable. Failure is inevitable, but keep pushing through to the next success. Don't worry about taking. Don't worry about failure. Failure is a necessary part of the process.
Right. That's a great answer. I love the answer, Curtis. And I've been seeing a lot of people now coming up and talking a lot about failing and how it has been super helpful for them. And I believe that if we don't fail at something, how are we so like take the example of this Earth revolving in a certain orbit, right? Or a satellite revolving at a certain orbit. To escape from that orbit and reach towards the next, it needs a certain kind of force to develop and to push through to the next trajectory. If everything is going all well, everything is completely fine, how is someone going to get enough force to push themselves into the next orbit, into the next phase of life? How will someone be able to gather enough force, enough, you're getting me, to go
Yeah,
to
that
the
makes
next
sense.
level? And these are some really good points to push ourselves towards the next level. And so definitely failures have been something that have been put out in the wrong light, because failures definitely are something that are momentarily bad. Eventually, with the unfolding of time, failures become really meaningful. Don't you think so? Of course you
Absolutely,
do. 100%, right?
absolutely.
Right. So what's the best investment that you have made? The best investment or the most worthwhile investment that you've made in your life? It could be anything. It could be the investment of your time. It could be the investment of your money, or any investment. So, what has been the most worthwhile investment you've made?
So for me, you talk about loving to read. I am an audible learner. I'm an auditory learner, And so for me, the subscription to audible.com has been a great one. And then
Mm-hmm.
every book, I'd say, I wish I had a copy of it here. I've got a copy of How to Win Friends and Influence People, this book that I bought at 13 years old, that I bought it used at 13 years old. And I've read the book probably 12, 15 different times.
Wow.
And it is just absolutely shredded.
Wow.
I think that book cost me $1.50 when I bought it at the used bookstore. So that's definitely one that has changed my life as far as the way that I interact with people. And
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a not a great, didn't have great guidance growing up, pretty bad situation. And that was the first book that really that let me understand, man, you don't have to be the same type of person that you grew up with, with that bad example, I would say. Um, and that really got me into reading, more and more books, into the habit of reading over 6 books a week now. I mean, a month now, and um, just really giving me the opportunities that I've got. So,
Which one has like most positively impacted your life in the last 6 months that has costed you less than $100?
um, one of the books that I really enjoyed here recently was by H.J. Chamas. He's a friend of mine, lives in Dubai. He's a real estate investor. Um, so he's got The Employee Millionaire and Four Stages of Building Wealth, that were both great books. High Performance Habits by Brendon Bouchard was a good one. Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss.
To Tim Ferriss, 100%.
Platform by Cynthia Johnson was a great book.
Mm-hmm.
Introduction to Personal Branding by Mel Carson.
Right. All right. All right.
48 Laws of Power is a unique one. Everyday
Robert
Millionaire
Greene.
by Chris
Mm-hmm.
Hogan. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of them.
I loved Tools of Titans. I loved 48 Laws of Powers. 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. They're both very powerful books. In the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most positively improved your life?
So absolutely would be, success is not determined by the financial, by the amount of money you're making.
Hmm.
My biggest thing is learning that, we covered this earlier, but I originally thought success was just about making a lot of money. I made a lot of money and was not happy, and so
Hmm.
now I'm chasing actual fulfillment and success and improving other people's lives rather than just the money. The money comes when you're doing something that's changed the world, when you're influencing others positively. The money will come. So
Right.
chase happiness rather than just money.
100%. So this has been the biggest revelation, the biggest learning that you've had in the recent 5 years, or did this
Absolutely.
come long before? Recent five
No, this
years.
is just probably 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, that's interesting. All right. So, what are some bad recommendations you hear in your profession or your area of expertise? So, your area of expertise, I believe, would be building leaders, public speaking. What's your area of expertise for that matter?
Um, we've all heard terrible advice. Some of the advice would be, why don't you just get a good job and don't take such risks. I mean, I've heard this a lot of folks saying that,
Mm,
why don't you just get a job, do whatever the anybody that's telling you not to chase your dream,
mm,
if you are willing to, if you're planning on launching a business, if you are not a real motivated person, you are not dedicated, you don't have the ability to stay on task, and you
mm.
need a boss or a manager telling you what to do every single day, every hour of the day, then starting a business is probably not for you. But
Right.
anybody else, if you don't know, like, again, not knowing about pharmaceuticals or not knowing how to run a medical franchise, that can all be learned. I mean, I did that with no medical knowledge. So you can, I'd say, don't listen to people who aren't in a position that you don't want to be in. So if you're getting advice about not chasing a dream, and that advice is coming from someone who is in the same financial situation you're in right now, you should ignore that advice. If the
Mm.
advice is coming from somebody who's already a multimillionaire, already very successful in the same industry that you're in, I'd give some more credibility to that.
You cannot be asking people for advice who have not walked the path that you intend to walk, because chances are they themselves saw a lot of thorns in that path, and they would say they couldn't gather enough courage to walk that path. And
Yeah.
so it's highly unlikely that they would encourage you to walk the same path. They'll give you 100 reasons why not to walk that path. And so they're not the right people to approach,
So,
to take advices from.
yeah. So, for example, if you've got, let's say you're having relationship issues, you're married, you've got your husband or wife is doing, doing something that you don't agree with or whatever. Now, if you
Mhm.
go out and you're asking your friends you're at the bar or the nightclub and you're asking friends what you should do to help help improve that relationship, and these friends are all drunk, single people hanging out,
Mhm.
wasting their life, not pursuing anything permanent. That is the wrong group of people to be asking about how to run, how to manage your relationship or how to respond to a problem in a
Right,
relationship.
right.
Same thing. Don't ask. I don't have kids myself, so I am no expert on. If somebody asks me how do I teach my kids to, stop doing something or whatever, I am not the guy to ask about that because I don't have kids. I haven't been through that.
Right.
So ask people that are an expert expert in the area that you want to be,
Hmm. Hmm.
not just random
Off the
things that
tangent
don't matter.
question, a personal question. Are you married yet, Curtis?
I'm not. No.
You're not? Do you have plans to get
I,
married anytime soon?
so I was married years ago, and during all the brain cancer stuff,
You were
or I
married
guess before
before
the
you
brain
were
cancer.
27?
Yeah, I was married pretty young,
Okay, okay.
so,
I
but
see.
I've been dating a great girl for quite a while now, and
Happy to
see
hear
what
that.
happens
All the
there.
best
I
to
mean,
you.
I definitely plan. I don't. Same thing with being intentional. I date. The reason I'm dating is in order to have that light. In order to create that future together and create a meaningful future. So
Hmm.
I don't do anything unintentionally.
Hmm. Right. Intentionalism, essentialism, these are really very important things to be considering for everyone to consider, to really
Yeah.
consider, right? Off the tangent here, I really am interested in. So I think that, Curtis, that a lot of people in the initial phase of success, assuming one person starts on the journey towards achieving some goal very passionately with a lot of fuel within them, with a lot of desire within them, and they achieve it, right? I believe that in the initial phase, a lot of people achieve success till a certain point, and the driving fuel isn't some really good emotions. Most of the driving fuels, I would say, have been underconfidence, to just prove themselves to other people and to themselves, to appear better, right? Underconfidence, I believe, is a big fuel that people use to just hustle, keep hustling, keep working hard to achieve greatness. And at some point, so these are some negative fuels that people use that definitely works till a certain extent, but after a certain point, the things that brought you there, that got you here, won't work for you to get to the next level, right? And that's when you need to understand, to have the right mindset to be able to go to the next level. uh, am I making sense of what I'm saying? Are you able to put the pieces together?
Yeah, kind of. So basically, what I'm hearing there is you want to continue to bring in positive reinforcement, positive knowledge, um, and keep studying. To get to that next level, right? Basically, you'll plateau without pursuing. I mean, without gaining
No.
that extra
So,
knowledge
so
again.
what I'm saying is, full disclosure, I heard this talk from Vishen Lakiani. You've heard of it. You've come across him from Mind Valley, Vishen Lakiani.
I haven't. I'll have to check them out though.
You haven't? Seriously? You have came across Mind Valley?
No, I'll have to check it out. Check it
Okay,
out after the
okay.
show.
All right. So that's when I was hearing out of him that, all right, so you wouldn't be able to get the context of what I'm intending to say since you do not know him. You won't get the credibility of the things that he was saying and how credible he is. So yeah, I was what I was intending to say is people get this force, from when everyone around them is judging them. They're thinking that you're not good enough. They're telling you that you can't make it big in life. That's the fuel that they take. That, okay, I'm gonna prove you wrong. I'm gonna be something. I'm gonna work very hard. and they work very hard and they get to a point, but then things don't work out, like they need a mentor or something, right? They don't have the right set of conversation with themselves, which I believe is the most important conversation again, right? And so that makes them plateau at a point, and then they need to rewire how they've been thinking through, and what got them here won't be getting them there. Do you think the initial level of the successes have been due to a fuel that is not positive, essentially, maybe?
No, I would disagree with that. I would
Hmm.
say, I
Right.
mean, we've all gone through people saying, you know, people who think that you can't do great things, or people who,
Mm-hmm.
we've all had. I mean, even from school age, you've got people. There's some people who pick on you, some people who, different social statuses or socioeconomic statuses.
Hmm.
Um, but the biggest thing for me was just starting, at 13 years old, starting to read all these personal development books and trying to surround myself, even though I was in a bad situation myself, choosing to be influenced by the positive books and the other. At the time it was book on cassette, so I'd go down. I had a lunchbox full of these old cassette tapes that I'd listen to every night when I go to sleep, listening to these, you know, positive books and stuff. And so that positive influence on that, I basically just choosing to have more positive influence than the negative influence on the outside. Um, yeah, I would try to. We
No, I'm
become what
getting
we
you.
surround
I'm getting
ourselves
you.
with.
Yeah, right, right,
Yeah,
right. I'm getting you.
yeah. So
So
if you
that's
choose
not
to surround yourself
necessarily
with the
the
positive stuff,
right, 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 right. So that's not necessarily the fuel that you would be choosing. And I feel it absolutely amazing when people disagree. I love disagreements. I love to hear different point of views, and that's why I brought this up. So
well, and
yeah,
that was
you're
just
right.
for me personally. A lot of folks, I've talked to people who their motivating factor was, the teacher or the. Jeff Wobig is one of the guys. He's a Marine. He's a Navy SEAL Team 5, SEAL
Hmm.
Team 7 sniper. He's been on the Discovery Channel, Operation Rhino Wars. He won the Maxim Magazine Maximum Warrior competition. So he is the one of the baddest, toughest Navy SEAL snipers out there. Um, and this guy, one of his motivating factors was a teacher who was, as I guess it was a high school principal, who told him, he's going to be in jail, thought he's going to be in prison by the time before he graduated. And
Hmm.
for him, the reason that he is successful now is because he thought of that, the people that told him he couldn't be something important. And so he became, one of the greatest Navy SEAL snipers in history. And
Wow, that's a great
so
story.
for him, that was a motivation. Just for me, that's not, I just choose to ignore the negativity and try to focus on
100%. Right,
positive information.
right,
So it
right,
depends
right,
on the
right.
person.
It depends on the person, and in the longer run you definitely need the positive fuel to sustain the growth, sustain the success, sustain the mental health of yourself. So
Yep.
positive fuel is definitely what everyone intends to and should find out and should charge themselves with, and
Yep.
not tend towards the negative fuel, because that's not the right fuel you would want to have, right? So these
We
were
become
the
what we focus on. So, as an
100%.
example,
Yeah.
there's just a short, um, short detour here. But
Mhm.
you hear preachers, a guy he's a leader of a church, and he starts trying to uplift and inspire folks that are, maybe folks that are drug addicts or alcoholics or whatever the problem is. And so, if he starts spending all of his time, if the majority of his time is surrounded with people who are in a negative situation, pretty soon, even the strongest leader, if everyone you're surrounded with are negative people and you're not intentionally seeking other positive influence, pretty soon you lose your path and
Mm.
you'll fall to that level. And so again, just choosing positive influence. I mean, if you're trying to uplift and inspire folks that are at a lower level, you need to make sure that you're also surrounding yourself with that positive information, like the books that
Right.
you're choosing to read.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's powerful. So these were the main questions that I had for you, Curtis. Now our show has the final round, which is called the Fiery Four. Some would be fill in the blanks. and some would be questions. You have to answer them in one word or one sentence. Let's begin with the fiery four round. The first
Okay.
question to you is: failure to me is. This is a fill in the blank.
Failure to me is inauthenticity. If you're not being who you're meant to be, or you're not chasing that goal, being
Mhm.
inauthentic is not. That's failure to me.
Right. Mind is a dash.
What's that?
Mind is a. It's a fill in the blank again. Mind is a.
Not sure I understand the question.
Okay,
Like
okay.
your mind.
Yeah. Your mind, your conscious, your subconscious, whatever. Mind is a what?
Okay, mind is a sponge. You soak up whatever you surround yourself with.
Awesome. Love that. One law. If you could create one law that everyone in this world had to follow, what would that law be?
I would say that law would be don't get too comfortable with where you're at. So that law would be growth. If you if I could make a law, it'd be you have to continuously progress and improve.
Hmm. All right, that's great. So, the final question to you is, Curtis, what has been your biggest learning in the last 12 months?
Yeah, that's a tough one. There's so so even if we broke that down, the coronavirus thing here, the I would say people believe what they want to believe, whether it's true or not, and you can see it with all the political arguments or the coronavirus arguments or mask arguments. There's sides. Both each side is trying to
Mm-hmm.
prove what they
Right,
believe, and you
right,
typically can't convince somebody to believe something that you believe, even if it's right.
right,
You can
right.
People will say, um, you know, you can give them absolute evidence, absolute proof of a certain
You're right,
fact,
you're right, you're
and if
right.
they believe a certain way, they're going to say,
Mm.
"Well, I still disagree." How can you disagree with a fact? But we believe what we want to believe, and
That's how it is. That's what we've read in How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's what Dale Carnegie constantly teaches us, right? You shouldn't be you shouldn't try to convince people they're wrong, because they wouldn't anyway believe that, even if you
yep.
present them with facts, right? So that was a great one, Curtis. That was a great one. I love the conversation throughout. Now, could you tell the people, the listeners, the viewers, what are some social media handles where they can reach out to you?
So the easiest way, I don't want to sound stuck up here, but Google me. Um,
Mhm.
so if you search M. Curtis McCoy on Google, I've got the Google Knowledge Panel
Awesome.
on the side
Mhm.
where they've featured all my social media profiles, and you can also visit mcm.team. So my Matthew Curtis McCoy.team, um, and that's got all the featured places. If if your podcast interview has a dedicated page for this, that'll be featured on there as well.
100%. That'll be featured there on well as there as well. It'll be featured on Anchor below, Spotify. I'll put out the links in description below for any listener, the viewer. You can reach out to Curtis. He's definitely posting a lot of helpful content. He is inspiring. He's putting his energy into inspiring other people, putting out his message and sharing podcasts as well. You should definitely go and check out his podcast. He is bringing up guests on his podcast to share their stories of success, their meaningful insights, their learnings along their journeys. And these sure are wonderful people, just like Curtis is. So you should definitely go ahead and check out his podcast. And yeah, man, that'll be it. We should just tell everyone why they should be reading your book. Your book definitely has a lot of it, goes through your journey as well. Just tell other people why they should be reading your book and how to get hold of your book.
So for your audience, for the 20 show audience,
Hmm.
the big thing there is I went through, so after I'd been diagnosed with brain cancer and had lost everything, I went through interviewing a number of very successful people, and sharing those interviews in the chapters here. So these are everyone from, the inventor of the MP3 player to Jeff Wobig, the Navy SEAL sniper, um, Eric Payne he's a mergers and acquisition specialist. So everybody from that to another guy that was spent time in prison and, he's kind of in gangs and different stuff in prison, and now he's turned his life around and he's out making a substantial income and inspiring people himself. So that book was a great thing where really got to inspire and uplift and learn how these, extremely successful people have created their own life and their views on success. I'd say check out my book, How to Be Successful, Think Like a Leader.
Think Like a Leader. Yep. 100%. I would recommend everyone to go and check out Curtis' book. So, yeah. I'm sorry about it.
No worries. That's happened to all of us. If you've done many episodes, there's always
100% happens. It can happen anytime. So yeah, that was a wonderful episode, Curtis. I loved the conversation that we had together, and that'll be all for the viewers, for the listeners. I hope you got value out of Curtis' story, out of this insightful and super rich conversation that we've had. So until next time, my friends, lovely having you here on the show, Curtis. How was your experience so far?
This has been great. You asked some great questions and great conversation, and I really appreciate the questions you asked.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So,
hey, if I could give you one piece of advice, keep reading, keep studying. You'll be, if you keep taking in the positive information like you are now, you'll be in a very good position here 10 years from now. So I'd say you're on the right track, brother.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. That definitely means a lot. Thank you for watching. Hit the thumbs up button if you liked this video so more videos like this can be shown to you. And make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.